she used the California law as background for her dismissal.
Okay, so apparently Blake Lively thought she could strut into court with a glam team and a legal loophole and walk out untouched. And honestly, she really believed she had it handled.
It's a huge risk, and so it's not a fair fight. They're going into this with uneven risks on either side.
She tried to play the victim, use a shiny new law to block a defamation lawsuit, and slam the courtroom door right in Justin Baldoni's face. But the judge, not having it.
It's just that in this case, it looks abusive.
Blake pulled out California's Me Too Shield law, like it was her get out of lawsuit free card, except the court wasn't here for the theatrics. Her little legal stunt just got smacked down, and now the whole thing is unraveling faster than her red carpet curls. This wasn't just a court loss. It was a full-blown meltdown, allegedly complete with shouting behind closed doors, and a PR team spinning harder than a reality show reunion. And Justin, he's not backing down. In fact, he just dropped new details that have the whole case tilting in his favor. And baby, if you thought the tea was hot before, it's boiling now.
And they want us to believe that Justin Baldoni is the creep in all of this. This is running parallel to him shouting at Justin Baldoni in a penthouse about his wife being uncomfortable.
Let's break it down. Blake's entire defense hinges on California's Me Too law, specifically this shiny little clause that supposedly protects people from being sued for speaking out about sexual misconduct. Sounds noble, right? Except, according to Justin's team, that's not what this is. Because Blake didn't just speak out, she allegedly orchestrated a smear campaign, dragged his name through the dirt, and now wants to claim immunity under a law that wasn't even meant to protect this kind of situation. She's arguing that the defamation lawsuit itself is illegal because it deals with harassment, as if filing it violates her right to speak. But the court, they're side-eyeing that hard, because if that logic stands, anyone could say anything and then hide behind the law when someone tries to respond. And that's exactly what has everyone gagged. This isn't activism. This is legal gaslighting, and the court is finally starting to see through it.
Blake has expectedly filed to be dismissed from the lawsuit against her. Her argument that she is presenting is that the lawsuit in and of itself is illegal, okay? Because the matter at hand is pertaining to sexual harassment.
Blake's legal team walked in like they were untouchable, like the law was written with her in mind. But the judge wasn't impressed. Instead of handing her a free pass, the court slapped her motion down, hard, and sources say the reaction. Behind the scenes, not cute. Blake allegedly blew up after the hearing. We're talking private freakouts, PR panic, and her lawyers scrambling to reframe the narrative before this gets even uglier. Because once that law didn't work the way she expected, her whole strategy fell apart. She's not the protected voice in the courtroom anymore. She's the one getting called out. And Justin, he's sitting pretty with receipts, because he just dropped new information that's making the court and the public rethink everything.
With Me Too law out here in California, Code of Civil Procedure 47.1 is a problem for the Baldoni camp.
How big of a problem is it?
Up until now, Blake had the media playing her side, but Justin just shook the table with fresh details that have everyone re-examining the story. According to insiders, he's ready to prove that Blake's accusations were more than just false. They were deliberately false. And if he can prove actual malice, game over. Because under the law, it's not enough for him to show she lied. He has to show she knew she was lying, and did it anyway, with the intent to harm. That's a high bar. But with these new revelations, it's starting to look like Justin might actually clear it, and Blake knows it, which is why she's reportedly doing everything she can to shift the focus, stall the case, and keep this out of the public eye for as long as possible. But unfortunately, for her, the cracks are already showing, and the more she tries to spin it, the worse it looks.
She wants the court to use California law. That's her argument. And every federal court has to deal with these conflict of law issues that we call them.
While Blake's in court throwing legal tantrums and watching her defense unravel, Ryan Reynolds is over here thinking he can just joke his way through the storm like it's just another press tour. But nope, the spotlight just turned directly on him. Because now, it's not just about what Blake said, it's about what Ryan did. Specifically, a scene in Deadpool and Wolverine involving their own daughter and bestie. It is not sitting right with anyone. According to the latest wave of allegations, Ryan allegedly coached their 7-year-old daughter into delivering a line in the film that referenced Wolverine's private parts. Yes, you heard that right. A grown man. asking his child to say that on camera, and the internet is gagging in the worst way.
He's basically looking at his 7-year-old and being like, well, if you're not going to have what it takes to read this line, which happens to be about, Wolverine's penis, then I'll just go find another actor. Total sicko, the exact opposite in my viewpoint.
Now, Ryan has built a whole career out of pushing the envelope, raunchy jokes, unfiltered humor, that whole I'm edgy but lovable act. It's worked for years. Until now, because crossing that line with your own kid, that's not just inappropriate. That's downright disturbing. People who loved Ryan are now side-eyeing him hard. Former fans are asking why no one said anything sooner. And behind the scenes, even industry insiders are reportedly raising eyebrows, not just at the scene itself, but at the mindset it takes to even allow something like that to happen, especially while your wife is being accused of manipulating a harassment narrative for power. Suddenly, this isn't just about court cases and creative differences. This is about two people who seem to have no sense of boundaries and are being exposed for it in real time.
California law relative to the lawsuit against Lively for defamation is a little problematic. So we have not seen the opposition yet that the Wayfair parties are going to make to the motion to dismiss filed by Lively, but I suspect that they're going to want New York over California law. We'll see what they do.
But is it valid though? If the judge says, yes, you can use California law in this instance, could they dismiss his case because of that?
For years, Blake and Ryan have sold the world this Pinterest-perfect version of family life. Cute kids, coordinated outfits, holiday posts with matching pajamas and adorable captions. But this cracked the whole illusion wide open, because behind the scenes, it's looking more and more like that perfect family vibe might have been just another performance. One big social media distraction while they quietly pulled strings, made shady moves, and protected themselves from any kind of real accountability. And now the mask is slipping. Fast. Blake's breakdown in court wasn't just about the lawsuit. It was about losing control of the narrative, about realizing that people aren't buying it anymore. And Ryan's role in all this? It's not just passive. It's starting to look deliberately complicit. He's not the funny guy keeping the peace. He's part of the mess, and now he's being pulled into it, whether he likes it or not.
But here's the real problem for him, and our concern for Baldoni is if he goes forward and he loses his countersuit based on defamation, there's a huge risk to him because he then has to pay Lively's attorney's fees, treble damages, punitive damages. It's a huge risk.
When you've got two A-listers spiraling this hard, Hollywood doesn't just watch, it calculates. And insiders are already whispering that certain studios are starting to reconsider their future projects with the couple, especially now that this scene with their daughter has surfaced. Because even in an industry built on controversy, there are lines you don't cross. And using your kid in an adult joke on a global platform while your household is under legal scrutiny, that's not just risky, that's reputation suicide. There's talk of meetings being postponed, brand deals being reviewed, publicists being real quiet as they try to figure out how to spin this without looking like they're defending the indefensible. And all of this while Justin Baldoni is just sitting back, letting the court and public opinion do the work for him.
It requires Baldoni to prove a higher burden than he would otherwise have to prove in this defamation lawsuit. So he actually has to show that Blake Lively's anything she said, any communication she made about SH, that they were made in malice. And so that's a higher standard that he has to prove.
For the longest time, Blake and Ryan seemed untouchable, always adored, always praised, always protected by a well-oiled PR machine. But now, they're fumbling, saying too little, saying too much, dragging their own child into a media circus. And every time they try to control the narrative, they make it worse. Because this isn't just a scandal anymore. It's a collapse of a brand, of a relationship with the public, of trust. And the worst part, they still think they can fix it.
It's a problem that wouldn't be there if they had done this lawsuit a year and a half ago. So this is a brand new law. And what it does is it requires Baldoni to prove a higher burden than he would otherwise have to prove in this defamation lawsuit.
The golden couple energy, dead. The quirky charm, not hitting anymore. The insider status that kept them safe from consequences, gone. Because now the very machine that once protected Blake and Ryan, the studios, the media, the whisper networks, that shaped careers, is suddenly silent. And silence in Hollywood isn't just absence, it's a warning shot. No one's defending them. No one's stepping up to clarify things on their behalf. The energy from the industry right now is that tight-lipped, white-knuckled quiet you only get when reputations are officially too toxic to touch. And baby, when Hollywood starts pulling back like this, that's not just uncomfortable, that's fatal.
And then the jury has to look at the totality of that evidence and say, is that malice? And there's certainly evidence that would lead one to believe a jury could find that.
Let's start with what happens when you suddenly become bad optics. Because word on the street is that studios are now quietly reviewing Blake and Ryan's existing projects. Scripts delayed, PR timelines shifted. Some execs reportedly even discussing whether their continued involvement is worth the baggage. Because here's the thing about Hollywood. They don't care how charming you are if you start losing public trust. And right now, Blake and Ryan aren't just losing it. They're watching it collapse in real time. Insiders are whispering that deals are being paused. That's code for we're waiting to see if this goes nuclear. And based on how fast the public narrative is shifting, it just might. This isn't just about one lawsuit anymore. It's about whether Blake and Ryan can still sell tickets, still move merch, still stand on a stage without the audience side-eyeing every single word. And at the moment, the answer is leaning hard toward no.
Absolutely no person, I don't care how funny you think you are in Hollywood, would want their precious daughter, of all people, to make comments about Hugh Jackman's penis being in their father's mouth.
Normally, when celebs get hit with a scandal, the PR cleanup crew is already 2 steps ahead. We're talking carefully crafted statements, damage control interviews, anonymous friend of the family sources planting redemption arcs. But in this case, nothing. No social media apology posts, no rep releases, no we've learned and grown fluff. Just silence. Ominous, calculated silence, which tells you exactly how cornered they are. Because Blake and Ryan's team knows that. No statement is going to fix this. Not when there's legal documentation, child controversy, and actual courtroom breakdowns all happening at once. There's no spin cycle strong enough to scrub that clean, so they've gone into ghost mode, hoping the public forgets, praying. Something else distracts the headlines. But what they're not realizing is that the lack of a response is only making things worse. People don't forget betrayal, and they never forget silence when someone's hurting. And Justin Baldoni, he's still here, still steady, still watching it all unfold with the patience of someone who knows the truth is finally catching up.
You have to investigate any further because there is no father in his right mind who would want a scene in which his daughter makes a, homosexual joke about the relationship between him and this Wolverine character who we're starting to have questions about their relationship in real life.
You know what hurts more than bad press? Losing the audience. Because Blake and Ryan didn't just build careers, they built parasocial relationships. Followers who reposted every joke, every adorable couple moment, every candid red carpet look. But now those same fans are hitting the unfollow button, making TikToks calling them out, posting old clips and asking, how did we miss the signs? And when fans turn on you, it spreads. Fast. We're seeing side-by-side comparisons, threads exposing contradictions, comment sections full of, I used to love them, but that's not casual backlash, that's a reputation revolt. They're losing the people who made them marketable in the first place. And when that happens, the machine stops, the invites dry up, the brand deals vanish. Hollywood doesn't care how famous you are if the public isn't buying it anymore. And trust, they're not.
When I started looking at other people to play.
Yeah, but Ryan, to our discredit, we made Nezzy do I'm Not You 70 to 500 versions of that line.
I'm going to pay for that later.
While Blake and Ryan are flailing behind locked doors and legal memos, Justin Baldoni is doing something far more dangerous to their narrative. Staying calm, he's not ranting. He's not dragging them on Twitter. He's not posting teary Instagram lives begging for support. He's letting the truth speak for itself, letting Rogan's commentary, the legal documents, and the facts pile up until the weight of it all crushes the glossy fantasy Blake and Ryan have tried to maintain for years. And people are noticing. They're starting to ask, why is the guy who's being painted as the villain acting like the only adult in the room? Why is the man being accused of harassment coming off more composed, measured, and honest than the 2 supposed victims? The court of public opinion is shifting, and Justin, he's earning something you can't PR your way into: credibility.
And that's what he says. So he kind of basically forced his daughter to do the line, or else he's going to replace her as an actress in this movie. She's 7 years old, you guys.
This isn't a temporary controversy. This is a turning point, because Blake and Ryan weren't just actors. They were brands, built on trust, on charm, on relatability. And now, that brand is in free fall. The audience doesn't trust them, the industry doesn't want to touch them, and their silence is only making the fire spread faster. They thought they could manage the optics, that this would blow over, but scandals like this don't blow over, they blow up.
No, it won't get dismissed at the 12B6 phase because Brian Friedman will be able to plead around by doing a second amended complaint, and he'll be able to outline, the claims of actual malice and that she wasn't reasonable when she reported this harassment.
So here we are. The dust hasn't settled, the court battle isn't over, and the PR strategy, non-existent. But one thing is clear, Blake and Ryan are not walking away from this clean. Their entire empire, the carefully crafted image, the we're just like you energy, the wholesome yet witty brand, has cracked. And the pieces aren't just breaking, they're being examined under a microscope. By the public, by the press, by the industry that once protected them. And what people are seeing isn't flattering. Because what started as a simple countersuit has spiraled into something darker, a full exposure of what happens when power couples play games they're not equipped to finish. And the final chapter is being written right now.
Those are not points that a judge decides. Those are not legal determinations. Those are factual determinations. And we leave all of our factual decisions to a fact finder. In this case, that'll be a jury. So Brian Friedman more than likely will get past this phase.
Blake's motion to dismiss using California's Me Too law failed, but it opened the door to something even more dangerous for her, a judge watching everything with fresh eyes. Now that her defense has been publicly challenged, and frankly, humiliated, she's no longer the sympathetic figure in the courtroom. She's the one under scrutiny. And with Justin Baldoni reportedly preparing to prove actual malice, showing that she allegedly knew her accusations were false and made them anyway, the stakes have never been higher. Because if the court rules in his favor, we're not just talking about a payout. We're talking about a permanent stain, a court-backed label that says you lied, and you tried to ruin someone with it. And for someone who built their public identity on empowerment and righteousness, that's not just embarrassing, that's devastating.
When I want your opinion, I'll take Wolverine out of your mouth.
That's kid guiltily. That is my daughter,
I'm
Inez.
so sorry we have to admit that.
And I am father of the year over here for allowing her to say such language.
While Blake is bleeding in the courtroom, Ryan's taking hits in the public square. The Wolverine scene with his daughter, the suspicious silence throughout this scandal, and now, industry murmurs that maybe, just maybe, he's not the clean-cut guy we all thought he was. Let's be real, Ryan has always been one meme away from being everybody's favorite celeb, but now people are watching him differently. The sarcasm feels meaner, the quirky dad shtick is getting stale, and with his name tied to this disaster, his golden boy image is slipping fast. And you know what's worse than being hated? In Hollywood, being untrusted. Studios don't gamble on actors with unstable audiences. Brands don't sponsor names that spark controversy. And audiences, once they turn on you, they don't come back.
That is just unbelievable. He is admitting that she was not, Nezzy, as she is called, was not comfortable doing this line. And Ryan essentially said to her that I'm going to find another actor, which is pointedly ridiculous.
That's the part that's cutting the deepest right now, for both of them. Blake and Ryan have always controlled the story, the image, the vibe. They curated every headline, every cute post, every clapback that went viral. They were the ones with the upper hand. But this time, that control is gone. They couldn't stop the Rogan call-out. They couldn't shut down Justin's claims. They couldn't even spin the courtroom loss into sympathy. They're not running the show anymore. The public is. The court is. The truth is. And that kind of loss, in a world built on image, it's catastrophic.
Ryan Reynolds' statement, as contained in the allegations, is that he went and called Baldoni a predator. I mean, that is just such an over-the-top statement, and it does, just in its own right, seems malicious.
Here's the uncomfortable question. Can Blake and Ryan recover from this? Maybe. Hollywood has short memory spans and long forgiveness. If the right apology hits, the right deal drops, the right amount of time passes. But this isn't just your average PR mess. This is a deeply personal, legally tangled, morally complex unraveling of two people who were once seen as untouchable. And even if they do claw their way back, It won't be as the same people. The trust will never be the same. The fans will never be as loyal. The silence, never forgotten, because now we know the truth behind the curtain, and no Instagram post is putting it back together. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so you'll be the first to get notified about the latest drama.